fight like Ali for your life. If you don't fight for your life, how much do you love yourself? Black lives matter! Black lives matter!
We tired, can't you see? Or can you only see to a certain degree where our people will never be free? We've heard the way that word reoccurs until it becomes absurd. Gotta play it off as a joke, can't show that you're provoked, as if that word didn't hurt your old folk. Hate, staying with you the more the fame, trying to ruin your soul and encapsulate your brain. Being called ghetto, repeating like an echo, they telling me to let go, but I can't. And I don't know why, because I'm used to this. We used to this, right? Our quiet has turned into anger. Red and blue light you considered a strangler. Gotta declare my humanity, can't ever just be me without a fear being killed for a crime I ain't commit. And you don't wanna admit that you mad cause we never quit making the ball with our fists, and you wish that never exists, but it does. Cause a teen just like us was killed. So we made that big old fuss for a war that has been rough. An abiding cry for your knee to get off his neck. Stop treating him like he's an object. A burn running through his veins, a pain more than any sprain, as his daughter remains with a brain that contains more than one type of pain, while that pig goes home, but the hurt sustained. They don't want to hear the flip side, the side that comes with pride, no need to hide, the side that sees the good, not just some thugs in the hood, the side where we don't have to worry about being a menace or being given a larger sentence. Come on, can't you see? You don't want this fire inside of me. This is a time in history we never thought to see. A clash of the blacks and whites, both going to great heights. We'll get in as many fights as long as we get our rights. They gon' hit us regardless, cause the more we address, it adds more stress. They don't like our progress or the fact that we show success. The fight will always be here. It ain't never gonna disappear until they hear us. Instead of throwing us under the bus, they let us discuss without the looks of disgust, but instead they trust. We got us, we got us, we got us.
In the Mix provides students across all of our programs the opportunity to explore art as activism, discuss social justice issues that are important to us, collaborate with professional artists, and showcase their own creative work. We will be doing all this within a podcast that we developed and produced ourselves.
Welcome to In the Mix, the podcast, shining a light on real-world problems from the perspective of young art activists.
Equality for all.
Visibility.
Freedom.
Identity.
Love is all around. Be yourself.
Joy and power.
Poder.
Enticing.
Exceptional.
Self-care.
We are one.
In the Mix.
Howdy, y'all. This is your host, London. We have another very special guest for today's episode of In the Mix, Emma Berrebi.
And they're like, we don't want faces anymore. We're done with faces. This is our street. Like, no more dictatorship. And so people reacted strongly and they ripped down the posters. But that's part of the project. It's people reacting. It's other people coming in and being like, why are you taking down the posters? And them having that conversation.
This semester at NJPAC Arts Ed, In the Mix created a community action with the Inside Out Project, a platform that helps communities around the world stand up for what they believe in and spark global change locally. To do this, Inside Out has printed monumental portraits of hundreds of communities around the planet, including our own community here at NJPAC. Emma Berrebi is the Inside Out Project's education program manager that came to NJPAC to interview us about our Inside Out action. So we decided to interview her for this podcast. She has a master's degree in urban planning focused on housing and economic development and has been working at Inside Out since she graduated in 2020. Emma uses community building and social justice in order to create a more equitable world. We'll learn more about her now.
Who created Inside Out?
JR created Inside Out. He's a French artist from Paris. He originally started as a graffiti artist when he was 15. And then at about 16, he found a camera in a subway. And so he started taking photos of his friends making graffiti on the street. And he would print them in A4 and letter size paper, and he would paste them on the street. And so they were these tiny little photos on the street that he would frame with graffiti with spray paint, and he would write Street Expo in French. And so he has the largest art gallery in the world because he puts his art pieces on the street where people who don't necessarily go to the museum get to see his art. And so everybody is the audience.
Thank you. Why do you work for Inside Out?
Well, in 2011, I was lucky enough to go on the first photo booth truck action that happened in Israel and Palestine. And I was about 15 at the time. And then in 2012, I interned for the studio in New York City. My first time coming to New York by myself, living in the city, and interning for Inside Out. And then I did that again in 2013. And I went on another photo booth truck action that was about immigration, where we traveled around the United States, talking about the 11 million undocumented immigrants in the United States and putting a face to it and painting a real portrait of America. And so I really grew this bond to Inside Out and to everything that we can do by just giving people a platform. Because Inside Out, it's not about us. I'm out there in my office and I get to come here and talk to you guys every once in a while. But really, I'm in the office helping other people create their own project. And I think that's something I'm really passionate about. I'm passionate about giving people the tools to then go out and do their own thing, create their own installation. So in 2016, I actually created my own action with 550 posters that we pasted in Montreal, and that was incredible. And I did it with my friends, and it started out being our action, and all of a sudden we had, a dozen people coming out, pasting, and it was a group effort, which was so cool. So in 2020, I started helping out at Inside Out because I graduated from my master's in the middle of a global pandemic. And I was offered to create the education program. And I accepted with joy because I think it's so cool to be able to help young people speak up, because you guys all have your own minds, you've got your own voice, and I think it's so important that you understand that your voice is important, and that we put it out there for everyone to listen to.
Thank you.
Who would like to ask me the tough question? I saw that question, I was like, you guys, wow, let's go.
What is the biggest impact that you've seen in Inside Out?
So that was a really tough question that I saw you guys ask me. I think the biggest impact from Inside Out is the impact that it has on each person. And that's not only the people that see the action, right? Because you're putting the posters out there for everyone to see. And the people who see the action, they're gonna think about it. But it's also about the people behind the poster. It's about you guys having a conversation, working together, realizing that your voice is important, realizing that you are important enough to have your face in this giant format out in public. And so the participant, to me, the impact on the participant is huge. And then, of course, people who pass by on the street and realize that maybe someone lives here, right? People who look at posters on the school and be like, okay, so this is a real place with real people. Same as the immigration project I was talking about. We were painting a real portrait of immigration. We were putting the people that exist, and we were just being like, these are the people in America. These, we're not inventing anything. These people were here when we came with the truck. We just put them out in public. So a few examples. I did a project in Providence where we brought the photo booth trucks to 7 schools. And the feedback I got from the student was, thank you for representing us on our own building. So that's, I think, a huge impact, just being represented on the building that you occupy, that you spend time in. And then the dyslexia project, which I thought was very cool, and I have a personal link to, because it was smashing the stereotype, and it was showing people that are somewhat known, saying these guys have dyslexia. Dyslexia doesn't have to be something that is frowned upon, and it's something that makes you a creative person. It's something that makes you think differently. And so it's taking away the stereotypes. So I think that everyone who creates an action, everyone who is brave enough to come out, take photos, find a message, and paste the photos is really awesome. And I hope that it creates a great positive impact on all of you guys.
Thank you. When were you diagnosed with dyslexia, and was it a difficult time?
So I was diagnosed with dyslexia when I was so small that I don't even quite remember. And so I would say it wasn't difficult, or at least I don't remember it being difficult because I was so small that I got help at school. I had a lady that would take me out of class quite often, and I guess we did exercises, and then for a couple years after school, I went to see a specialist for that. And dyslexia doesn't necessarily go away as much as your brain learns how to go around it. I learned English pretty properly when it comes to writing at this point, so I think we did pretty okay. Also, in college, I got a computer so that I could use autocorrect.
Thank you.
I'm from Switzerland, too.
Oh, that's fun. Were you born there?
I was born in Paris from a Tunisian dad and a French mom. I was born in Paris.
Wow.
And then I grew up in Switzerland. Went to undergrad at McGill University in Montreal.
What? Around the world.
Around the world. And I think it's not a fun fact, but I went through hurdles in the sense that I went through 2 depressions, dyslexia, and I have ADD. And I still got my master's, and I think that's kind of a show of the fact that if you get support from your friends and the people that have the resources to help you, you can do anything, and you can work it inside out.
That's 2 depressions.
I went through depression 2 times. So that means that 2 times I got really sad. I had some really tough times where it was very hard for me to be happy, for me to sometimes even function. But I had some really good friends, and I found the resources, therapy, and all of that. And that way, I managed to find the coping mechanisms and the resources to help me get better. And now I'm happy. Thank you.
If a person's feeling depressed, what would you say to help them get through it?
I think depression's very, it changes for everyone. It's very difficult. But I definitely think that talking about it and finding someone who will help you through it, it's very important. I think depression is not always something that you can go through by yourself. And so really talking about it and understanding that it's something that you're gonna have to go through, and that it's not your fault, and that you just really will get better soon and eventually. And just remembering that it will end is very important. In my experience. In my experience.
Thank you.
Do people ever rip down the posters or put graffiti on it or anything?
It's okay if people play with the poster. One of the first Inside Out actions happened in Tunisia after the Arab Spring. So there used to be a dictator, and then they removed the dictator, and his face used to be everywhere. He was the face that was everywhere that people had to look at. And then he was removed, and all of a sudden there were all of these faces on their street, and they're like, we don't want faces anymore. We're done with faces. This is our street. No more dictatorship. And so people reacted strongly, and they ripped down the posters, but that's part of the project. It's people reacting. It's other people coming in and being like, why are you taking down the posters? And them having that conversation. So the life of the posters is also part of the action.
Thank you.
What's next for you?
Let's just say my ultimate goal, my passion in life is to find different ways to help people help themselves. I'm just, the Swiss French girl from Geneva living in New York City, and I don't know everything, and I think that's important for me to always remember in my work as an organizer. It's that I'm here to help other people, and that I don't necessarily know everything that other people are going through. So ultimately, I just want to keep finding ways, artistically or otherwise, to get people to the resources that may or may not already exist, and just help them uplift themselves and help them pass the baton, and them helping their own community, and ultimately, hopefully, reaching a level of both happiness and equity in a way that we can. I think my job's pretty cool. I get to talk to people from all over the world every day, and help them create their own action and tell me their stories and tell me what they care about. And I get to just kind of be there, help them out, and then just watch magic happen. I don't know. That's a tough question. I think we're in a pretty good place.
Thank you.
I want to give a round of applause to Emma for coming in.
Thank you.
Hi, this is Spencer Froh, one of the facilitators of the In the Mix program at NJPAC. Underneath me now is the original music of Bennett, one of our virtual students, and you heard another song of theirs earlier when London was introducing this episode. Now we're going to hear a snippet from the event where we showcased this episode of the podcast and unveiled our monumental Inside Out portraits.
And now this portion is going to be open to the audience. If you have any questions that you would like to ask our leaders, please come up and do so.
Hello there, beautiful ladies. How are you?
Hi.
I have a question. As future world changers, each and every one of you, what would you see or what would you like to see change as you get older in society?
Do you want to go first?
Yeah, we'll go on.
One thing I would like to see change is I feel like everyone is so quick to attack people when they have different opinions or whatever. I feel like you should be more open. And also, it's like I would like racism to change a lot. I feel like it shouldn't be a thing that we have to constantly say that our life matters.
I personally would like to see how we treat the planet, how we pollute it, how we tear it down. And I don't think a lot of people realize the more you kill the earth, the more you're killing us. Once the earth is gone, where are we gonna go? They haven't found another planet for us to build life on. So once the earth is gone, we're gone too. So I just want people to take better care so we can live as long as possible and build more cities and make the world greater. Because we can't make the world greater if we don't have a world to make greater.
I just feel like the way we treat people, we are so stuck on people's differences. Personally, like say if a person had autism or different stuff like that, we're so stuck on it. We can't see past that. And I mean, seeing my race is important because I would want people to see that I'm a proud Jamaican and African American person, but also that we have to embrace those differences because we shouldn't see those differences as a bad thing. I feel like when people hear that like you have a different or you have a special need or a mental health problem, they hear the bad in that. But how amazing that is to have a community, because there's many communities that support that and embrace that. We just need to start embracing people's differences instead of judging, because bullying is not a good thing no matter what. Even if you think it's a joke, some people just like let their friends bully them, even though they say it's a joke, it's not. So just really think before you speak, because you never know how that's impacting someone.
So one thing that I want to see in the world change is like to embrace like our differences, and we all get the same representation. But I feel like we should all have something equal, no more and no less. We just all need to like have the equal like representation.
Something I want to see change in the world is gender equality, because I feel like some men are pretty inconsiderate about how women should be treated, and that's really unfair because like women, like they're really strong and they put up with all men's bull, and I feel like I feel like they deserve more credit, and like that I feel like men should just respect women more in general.
Okay, so I'm going to just request to be heard, sustainability, accept our differences, make sure that we see our differences and move forward and embrace who we are, and to have equal rights for women. We have to be the change we want to see, okay? And I'm depending and counting on you ladies, along with your peers, to be the change, because we are going to be sitting here, looking at you to make sure that what we have put out as the seeds of us, that you are sowing and you are actually flourishing. So be the change you want to see, okay?
Thank you.
The creators of the podcast are Riley, Zara, London, Isaiah, Anaya, Bennett, Gia, and myself, Tamaya. The facilitators are Spencer, Janaea, Antonella, Ro, and Priscilla. We'd like to thank our guest, Emma Berrebi, and the New Jersey Performing Arts Center. Ciao!
Cool.
Done.
Done.
Yay!